M.S.Bhuvaneswari, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute, University, Madurai, going to present 20th century literature and one of the most famous prose, What I Believe, written by E.M.Forster. First, let us see 20th century literature an introduction. It is described as the age of musical diversity because composers had more creative freedom. The major literary movements in the 20th century are modernism. Modernist writers in general rebelled against clear-cut storytelling and formulaic verse from the 19th century. Written in the year of the outbreak of the Second World War, what I believe is a defense of democracy and secular values against the advance of totalitarian regimes in Europe. Foster argues that there are two main advantages to democracy. First, it allows individual expression. Secondly, it permits criticism. His famous quote, I do not believe in belief. Let us see what he says in What I Believe. What I Believe is an article written by M.Forster, a leading essayist, thinker, and scholar during modern age in English language and literature. Two Cheers for Democracy, first published by Edward Arnold in 1951, contained essays, articles, and broadcasts by E.M. Forster between 1936 and 1951. In the opening section, the second darkness concentrates on the war, which from began for Great Britain in 1939. The second section, What I Believe, covers the same period as the first and sometimes the same subjects, but its climate is ethical and aesthetic. Foster splits the second section into three parts: art in general, the arts in action and places. The first section is not only political but also at times philosophical, first questioning but then most often supporting the thoughts and beliefs of the great liberal individualists. This seemed unnecessary in World War II. In 1951, Foster has gained hope again. He writes, human life is still active, still carrying about with it explored riches and unused methods of release. The darkness that troubles us and try to degrade us may thin out. Young Foster says that he does not believe in belief, but there are so many around that one has to formulate a belief of one's own in self-defense. Three values are important to Foster. They are tolerance, good temper, and sympathy. They are what matter really, and if the human race is not to collapse, they must come to the front before long. Foster does not reject faith, only faith stemming from religion. The chief difference between faith in religion and faith in principles. Belief and reason are not in fact mutually exclusive. In fact, they are unavoidable and can even complement each other handsomely. Foster argues that one should invest in personal relationships. One must be fond of people and trust them if one is not to make a mess of life. In order to do so, one must be reliable in one's relationships. Reliability, in turn, is impossible without natural warmth. He contrasts personal relationship with causes which he hates. In an often quoted sentence, he argues, if I had to choose between betraying my country and betraying my friend, I hope I should have the guts to betray my country. Uh, with this, Foster cautiously welcomes democracy for two reasons. Because it places importance on the individual and it allows criticism. Thus, he calls for two chiefs for democracy. He goes on to argue that although the state ultimately rests on force, the intervals between the use of force are what makes life worth living. Some people may call the absence of force decadence. Foster prefers to call it civilization. Great men fosters aristocracy and public life. The author also criticizes hero worship and profoundly distrusts so-called great men. As a contrast, Foster believes in an aristocracy not based on rank or influence, but an aristocracy of the sensitive, the considerate, and the plucky. For Foster, it is a tragedy that no way has been found to transmit private decencies into public life. Public life. The more highly public life is organized, the lower does its morality sink. The nations of today behave to each other worse than they ever did in the past. It is humiliating outlook. Though the greater the darkness, the brighter shine the little lights, reassuring one another, signaling, well, at all events, I am still here. I don't like it very much, but how are you? Foster concludes by stating that these are the reflections of an individualist and a liberal who has found liberalism crumbling beneath him, taking comfort from the fact that people are born separately and die separately. Therefore, no dictator will be able to eradicate individualism. We can conclude like this. His words were particularly divisive, considering that they were written in a period in which the involvement of Britain in another world war was becoming increasingly inevitable. While Foster was not unpatriotic, he placed a greater importance on personal loyalty than on national dignity. Uh, Now, I can give you some assignment if you try to do it. Discuss E.M. Foster's philosophy of life. You can say what is his opinion of life, how he approaches it, everything. What are the fundamental tenets of Foster's faith, as he mentioned in What I Believe? So, these are the two assignments for you. Thank you.